Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening and welcome to UHart's student support event. We wish we could see you in person this evening, but we're so excited to welcome you to campus in just a couple months. My name's Katie. I'm one of the assistant directors of admission at the University of Hartford, and joining us this evening will be some representatives from our Center for Student Success, our Office of Student Accessibility, and our Counseling and Psychological Services. Just a friendly reminder to please utilize that Q&A box below. You should be able to see it on kind of the lower part of your screen. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, feel free to put them in the Q&A and we'd be happy to respond to them throughout the presentation as well as during our live Q&A. Otherwise, I'm going to hand it off to Mike Ormsby, our Director of the Center for Student Success and Orientation.
Thanks, Katie, and good evening, everybody. We're really happy to be here and to talk about student support services on campus. I know we have a number of wonderful people who want to share some really good and hopefully helpful information. And I get to start off by talking about our Center for Student Success. And just real quickly, I wanted to also introduce, we have a couple of students who are going to be sharing some information, giving you some firsthand accounts. Because we can give you the information, but it's helpful to, I think, especially for students who are on the call, to hear from individual perspectives and people who have lived the experience. So real quick, I wanted to introduce Jefferson. Jefferson, would you mind turning your camera on and saying hello?
Hello, how's everyone doing?
Tell us where you're from, what your major is.
So I am from West Orange, New Jersey, and I am a electrical engineering major. And next year will be my sophomore year. So I'm fairly new to the university. So this is as firsthand as you could get. First year, I just went through it. So
we'll be asking Jefferson a lot of questions and asking him for some input. I also wanted to introduce Ebony Kennedy. Ebony, do you want to give folks your name, your major, what year you are?
Hi, everyone. My name's Ebony Kennedy. I'm a junior here. So unlike Jefferson, I'm a little bit older. My major is psychology and I have a minor in health science and I'm from Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania.
Thanks, Ebony, and thanks for being here. We also have Hallie Friedman. Hallie.
Hi, I'm Hallie Friedman. I am now a rising senior like Ebony. I'm an actor training major with a minor in psychology, and I'm from Washington, D.C.
Thanks for being here, Hallie. And Hallie, Ebony, and Jefferson are also all red caps. So you'll be, for those who are going to be joining us in the fall already, then you'll get to see them over the summer during our virtual orientation, and also during our Start Strong weekend, during move-in weekend, which we'll talk a little bit more about in just a few minutes. So let's get into the bread and butter of the information. So as I mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit about the Center for Student Success. And then we're going to kick it over to Tracy Carlson for accessibility services information, and counseling and psychological services from Jeff Berta. Tracy, do you want to say hello?
Hi, everyone. My name is Tracy Carlson. I'm the Director of Accessibility Services. We are the Office for Students with Disabilities. And I'll be talking to you in just a little bit about our services and how to apply for them.
Thanks, Tracy. Dr. Jeff Berta joining us from Counseling and Psychological Services. Say hello to the people, Jeff. And the note of 2020 into 2021 is you're on mute.
Yes. I came so far. I came so far, Mike, and I dropped the ball already. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. Welcome. My name is Jeff Berta. I am the Director of CAPS, Counseling and Psychological Services, a licensed clinical psychologist, talking to you about the service available to your students.
Thanks, Jeff. So that's a brief rundown of who we have for you. So I'm gonna jump in and get to share a little bit about our office, the Center for Student Success. As you'll see in this slide, and I should also mention real quick, I have a 3-year-old and a 6-month-old at home. And so if you hear some screaming, if you hear some noises, that's because it's bedtime and they're getting a little cranky. So just know that it's nothing wrong. Those things just happen. So very quickly to share about the Center for Student Success, our mission is to be a one-stop shop dedicated to empowering students to build the foundation for successful academic, social, and personal growth in their first year and beyond. So we do a lot of really helpful pieces of information and events in order to, we're all about the foundation, making sure that students have a really strong foundation from which to operate from going into their sophomore year and continuing to graduation. So we want to make sure that, as you can see from that description, we try and make sure that we think about the whole experience. So not just making sure that students are doing well academically and getting what they, not just that they're adjusting to campus and meeting other students, and that they're meeting faculty and staff and having the conversations that they need to have there, but also that they're moving at the pace that they feel like is right for them, and that they are meeting the goals that they've set for themselves, upon entering the University of Hartford. So we really try and be holistic and in our approach and make sure that we have all the bases covered. So you might ask, how do we do that? And one of the ways that we do that is with a really wonderful and fantastic group of people. This is our staff, and they're just incredible individuals. You'll see anyone with the first year advisor title. That's a person who is a first year advisor. They manage a part of, they have a caseload of a first year group of students. We divide mostly by college. And so they'll each have a caseload of students that they work with, who also, and we'll talk a little bit in more detail about this, but who also teach a first year success seminar class where all of our incoming first year students get to meet with their first year advisor once a week. And each week they spend 50 minutes on a particular topic. And so we've created that curriculum to follow the calendar of the first semester so that we're introducing topics when they're timely. We talk about, when those first assignments come out and things start getting stressful, how to manage and process stress. We talk about, getting to know other people on campus, joining clubs and organizations. Around registration time, we talk about holds on your account, the barriers that might prevent you from registering into the fall semester and how to resolve those issues, as well as the nuts and bolts and steps on what classes to register for, how to register for those classes. So I think we've really hit a really nice combination of information and making sure that you're getting the most out of your experience and having a lot of fun while you're here. So these are wonderful individuals who you'll get to meet a lot more and hear a lot more from in depth during our orientations this summer. So one of the other things that I like to talk about with the Center for Student Success is there's a lot of offices and departments on campus that do a lot of different things. And especially in your first year, it can be helpful to have one place to go. And I see our office as kind of the first point of contact in order to help you answer all of your questions and connect you to the right resources on our campus. So whether you're curious about how to improve one of your classes, if you have a hold on your account and you're not sure why or how to remove it, if you need some help finding friends to connect with on campus, and I know that's going to be moving out of an entirely digital world into more in-person interactions, that can be a challenge for some, and we're all going to be kind of testing those waters together. Or if you simply want some suggestions on how to make the most of what your experience on campus. We're here to help with all of that. And so one of the reasons that I put that picture up is we want to be kind of like a funnel. We collect all of those questions, and then we try and match up what your questions are, what your concerns are with particular groups on campus. And so we might make a phone call or, walk a student over to a particular office for some assistance. Or, we might give that student contact information, do an email introduction, depending on what it happens to be and how in depth that might, the question or concern might be. We determine, how to make that connection best. And so that's how we want to operate. And you'll also have a first year advisor who you'll meet at least, like I said, once per week in a class called that first year success seminar. That advisor acts as a coach, an advisor, and an instructor. And so I know Jefferson and I had a chance to talk a little bit about his experience in his first year and his first year class. So Jefferson, anything that you'd like to share with the group about that experience, especially being that you're fresh off of it?
So with my experience with my first year advisor, so I had the pleasure of having Julie Springs, and it was a great experience. As Mike said, they are there to really assist you with any problems or any situations you may have. And with my advisor, with the beginning of the semester, right, because I had it my fall semester, beginning of the semester, there was a lot of things that, I wasn't aware of, and, a lot of issues that I did come across. And because I met my advisor, once a week, I kind of made it my mission to really talk to my advisor. Any issues I had, I went to talk to her. And she either had a direct answer for me, or she knew someone or where to, guide me to get my answer. And it was very beneficial, and it really allowed me to achieve what I was able to achieve. So.
And we love Julie. Julie's fantastic. They're all really wonderful folks. And so one of the other things that's probably worth mentioning, me personally, I've worked in residential life. I think Jefferson and we talked about that a little bit. I started as a resident director in Res Life on campus. I've worked in career services. We have other folks who have worked in a lot of different colleges. Julie has worked in College of Engineering, Technology, and Architecture. We have folks from just about every college who are now working in our office. And so one of I think the strengths of our group is that we have a lot of people who have a lot of different experience all over campus. And so when you have a question that, is about a different college, or it's about an office that may not have been mentioned before, we have other people that if we ourselves don't, as individuals, don't have the answer, we can go and talk to other people and get that information rather quickly. So that's one of the really nice things about it. And to Jefferson's point about the being able to ask those questions, one of the really nice things about that first year success seminar is that it puts you in the same room as the instructor, as your first year advisor, once a week. So if you happen to forget to write the email, or you happen to forget a question about a due date that's coming up, there's the time to ask it. And so I think it provides something that's a really helpful structure for first year students. A couple of other things to mention about our office. In addition to the first year advisors and all the things that they do, we also have what are called student support specialists who help with primarily with billing and account management. So in addition to going to classes and all of the academic information and studying and making sure that you keep up with your grades, there's also a large piece of the experience that we're, a large collection of information to pay attention to in terms of obviously paying for those classes and making sure that there's nothing that's preventing you from registering for the next semester. So we have student support specialists, and all of our first year advisors are also cross-trained in that information. So again, being kind of a one-stop shop, we want students to be able to sit down and ask 3 or 4 different questions. And rather than getting sent to 3 or 4 different offices of where that information lies, we have that information with us. And so we want to be able to get more done for a particular student at once with one person. So having that cross-training with the student support specialist is also really helpful. And that is the billing and payment information to be able to say, I don't know what class to take next semester. Well, let me take a look at that. And also while you're here, I see that something's going to prevent you from getting into that class next semester. So let's make sure that we take care of that. Here are the 2 or 3 things that you need to do and need to complete. We'll get rid of that and we'll be able to register you for next semester. And then we also have obviously orientation and the Start Strong experience, which we'll talk just in a little bit more detail in the next couple of slides. And then also we have really strong connections to our tutoring center. And so obviously through the first year, you know, information moves a lot faster, the pace is a lot quicker. And so we want to make sure that, you know, if students are struggling and they need some help in a particular course, that we can connect them to our tutoring center. And I know there was an initial question leading into this. Somebody had asked about opportunities and how that tutoring process works. And so it's largely appointment and referral based, and our first year advisors make a lot of those referrals. But we also have some walk-in opportunities, especially for high demand courses. And so, you know, our staff also has the schedule. And so we can offer options of, let's find you a tutor and scheduling an appointment. But also, you know, we see that there's going to be a math tutor here on Thursday, 12 to 2. If that's open and available for you, try going over and you know, walking in and you'll be able to sit down and have a tutoring appointment. So they're really flexible and really try and meet students' needs in a very comprehensive way. So hopefully that addresses that initial question that was asked. Just to remind folks out there of what's coming up next. And so we wanted to kind of highlight some of the events that are coming up this summer. So we have obviously our virtual orientation sessions on May 21st and May 23rd. And so that'll be an opportunity to meet your first year advisor and hear from them in more depth about the classes that you'll be taking in the fall. A little bit about that class and how you're going to interact with people in your college and get to know some of your classmates, as well as hear from people in your college, deans and associate deans, and some faculty members. A little bit about more in-depth your curriculum, what's going to be coming in the next few years, what you can expect over the first few semesters, and be able to ask them questions about what the classes are like, what topics are covered, what particular materials you might need in order to be prepared for that, and really any other questions that you have at that moment. So we have those virtual orientation sessions, and of course our red caps will be there. And I know Ebony and Hallie, I know you had some experience with our virtual orientations last summer. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the things that have been in the planning? Because I know the two of you have been involved in that.
Yeah, I guess I will say that orientation last year was a little bit difficult because the committee for Red Caps, you know, they had planned for something in person and then it was moved online, but I think that they really adapted well to all the challenges that were thrown at them. And I think it's really exciting that like Jefferson is now a part of our team and he's a freshman and he was able to go to that virtual orientation. So because we have a more insider perspective of what worked and what didn't work with the people that went to a virtual orientation, I think because we have that that connection now, we're able to see like what worked and what didn't work and what we can change, what we can adapt to. So you know, we're going to be doing like Zimi engagement with people in your college. We're going to be doing a lot of fun icebreakers and finding ways to kind of connect students with one another within their major, but also outside of their major. Sorry, there's a mosquito. But also outside of their major, just because at University of Hartford, we really want to make sure that you're meeting people that are in your college, that are in your major, but that you're also taking this opportunity to branch out and meet people that you wouldn't meet otherwise. So, Ebony.
You hit the nail on the head, Hallie. The only thing I would add is definitely with having Jefferson, like Hallie said, it gives us the motivation, not motivation, but like it gives us, like Hallie said, just the insight on how other incoming freshmen felt like when having a virtual orientation, because it kind of is a bummer that you're not really able to like meet your friends or meet your roommate until like the very last second. But I think with this upcoming orientation, we have definitely included different activities for you guys to take part in and feel more engaged with just the students as a whole, whether they be in your college, in your major, or outside.
Yeah. We gather feedback after each of our orientation sessions, and one of the consistent pieces of feedback that we heard from our last virtual orientation was they wanted more student involvement. They wanted to get to know their peers, and they wanted to hear more from our RedCaps because they're obviously phenomenal. So we listened and we made those adjustments. So hopefully it'll be a good experience for everybody. And exactly like they mentioned, we have a number of Zimi engagement events. Hopefully you're on Zimi. If you're not, download the app and join through the University of Hartford. And so there'll be some opportunities to converse with and get to know your fellow students through those activities over the summer. We have our Meet the CSS virtual events. So you'll be able to meet your first year advisor during orientation. We also, we certainly have students change majors and change their minds about what they want to study. So if you need to meet somebody new, you can do it at that event. And really just, we know that a lot of questions come at different points. So for different students and different families, you might be really focused on your financial aid package at a particular point in time, or you might be really focused on questions about your major, questions about the classes that you're going to be taking. And so we want to offer a collection of different levels of information at different points. So the CSS virtual event is a chance, exactly like I said before, as us being a one-stop shop, for you to ask any questions that you have and to make sure that you have all the information that you need by that point in order to feel comfortable. And then we also have our last orientation sessions 3 and 4 in August for those who can't make it in May. And then our Start Strong experience, which is, and I'll click over to that one. Let's see. 2-day event. And so it's kind of a hybrid between what we had traditionally done for in-person orientation and our move-in experience. The primary goals here are to get you feeling as comfortable as possible with your surroundings and meet and learn more about your peers. So we want to we've scheduled some very focused time to learn more about your other incoming students and time for relaxed conversations with fellow students and of course our RedCaps. So the Start Strong experience, I think, is really, again, because we're transitioning to being able to be more in person. It's a chance to get familiar with your surroundings. There's going to be a tour with your first year advisor on your particular academic area, so that you know where you're going and what the place looks like. And again, we want to make sure that people are feeling comfortable going into their first day of classes. So as I said, as part of your move-in selection, you'll have an opportunity to register for one of those 2 sessions. And so it'll be a little bit of information and preparation going into your first few weeks, as well as getting to meet and get to know a lot of people. And like I had said, similar to the orientation sessions, there's also going to be a get to know your college and first year advisor. Meet individual colleges and get to know the meaning behind each of those colleges. And like I said, a lot of conversations with our RedCaps. And so Hallie, Ebony, and Jefferson, I'm sure there's a lot of thought for folks out there on what it felt like in order to make friends and that whole first process of getting to campus and interacting with people. And I know Hallie and Ebony, you had a little bit of a different experience than Jefferson did. But can you share a little bit about like what that felt like and how you went about making your first friendships?
Yes. So for me, at least, with everything being more of a remote setting, right? A lot of online classes and everything. I found it to work best, getting out of my comfort zone. So although, well, for example, like with classes, the way the university does classes, it's hybrid. So the teacher will divide the class into to two halves. One half will meet one day, and then the other half will be online, and the next day of the week they swap. And in terms of that, what I did, like really getting out of my comfort zone, is the days that I did meet with the individuals who were in person with me, I tried to do my best to, really, introduce myself, get to know them, and just start a conversation. And what I would do, and like, for instance, with people who were on the other group that I would potentially never really meet in person, is, because on Zoom or WebEx, whichever one your professor uses, it has their first name and their last name. So I took it a step further in a way, and I kind of just, I had their name, I went on Instagram, I searched them up, hit the follow, just like that, that connection could be built. You know what I mean? And, I would direct message them. We can talk about the class, get to know each other that way. And then, just doing those little things can build friendships from individuals you would probably never get to see because of the circumstance. So I definitely would say getting out of your comfort zone. That's the number one thing. It's been told to me by a number of individuals, especially before coming to campus. And it's definitely something that works, because everyone at the university, all the freshmen, just like you're scared, and just like, you're worried about making new friends and getting to know others, they're feeling the same way. And they're all from different places. So it's just a matter of really, talking to them and getting to know them. So.
Well said, Jefferson. Yeah, Ebony, sorry.
Yeah, I could go next. Making friends my freshman year was a little bit difficult because I was on the track team here at the university. So I was really only subjected to just my team. So I didn't really get to know or introduce myself to other students who weren't a part of just athletics in general, because I was just with my team, like I would majority of the day. So it was just really hard for me to branch out. Also, I was in ENHP at the time, which is the Education, Nursing, and Health Professions College. So I also didn't really get an opportunity to talk to anyone there because, like Jefferson said, like freshmen were all very nervous, we don't want people thinking that we're weird. So I'm just like a really shy person. So I didn't really branch out and like introduce myself until I found this organization that I'm in now, which is Red Caps. A lot of my teammates on the team told me like, hey, like, you would be a really good fit for Red Caps. It's like gives you the opportunity to meet new people. And it was definitely the best decision that I've ever made. I've met so many people, amazing people, such as Hallie and Jefferson and Mike. So it was just definitely an organization that completely did a 180 for my college journey. And I appreciate the organization very much and would recommend this organization to anyone who feels as though they want to branch out of their comfort zone and just meet new people in general, get to know other people outside of their college, and just create friends. So, yeah.
Yeah, everything that the two of them said, 100%. I would also just say, I know I already kind of said it the last slide, but I think college is really important because you get to meet a lot of people that aren't in your major, that aren't from your state or from your country, that believe in different things, that come from different places all around the world. And I think like college is the perfect opportunity to meet people you wouldn't meet otherwise, which Jefferson touched on, same with Ebony. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why I joined Red Caps, like Ebony with track, me being in the theater division. I spent a lot of time with only theater majors because all of my classes were acting classes, or all of my classes are acting classes. And so, yeah, I guess my advice to make friends is Jefferson's approach, following people on Instagram that, are on your virtual orientation and maybe reaching out to them and saying, hey, I noticed you're an art major. Like, one of my best friends is an art major. Like, we should grab coffee and talk about art, something like that. Or also joining clubs, and like finding a connection in one of the organizations and clubs that we have on campus. I know a lot of people, myself included, have joined Hillel that are Jewish. And so that's been a really nice way for people to feel like they have a community and a home away from home on campus, is by finding different organizations and clubs that really speak to them. So I would say doing that, because when you join those, then amazing people come with them.
Well said. Amazing people come with them. Yeah, it's so one of the things that I think kind of carry across all of your experiences, it's out, and I think Ebony said that she made the decision to try out for Red Caps, and that's when your experience changed. And it sounds like at a certain point, and once you realize that you want to make the decision to step out of your comfort zone and introduce yourself to somebody or join a club or organization, and you start to break away from that concern of, oh my goodness, what are other people going to think of me? That's really when your experience starts to change for the better. And you really start to recognize all the opportunities that are available. And so everybody's thinking the same thing, right? Everybody's worried, oh, what is everybody else thinking of me? I'm the only one that, that isn't fitting in, or that isn't having, I see everybody else smiling and laughing, and I'm over here just trying to get my work done. So everybody's thinking the same thing. And as soon as you can make that leap and go and introduce yourself to somebody, then the world is your oyster, as they say. So thanks to all of you. And just real quick, I wanted to share our information for our office, css@hartford.edu, our phone number, 8:30 to 4:30 every day. We're there answering your questions. And then hartford.edu/CSS, we have a lot of great information over there, as well as a live chat function on there. And we also do virtual visits via Zoom. So if you call or email us, say you want to talk to somebody in real time, then we can certainly do that too. And if you need to screen share stuff, we can do that as well. So we like to think that we're pretty available in all sorts of different modes. And so that's us. That's the Center for Student Success. I'm going to kick it over to Tracy Carlson. There's one quick question that came through that I wanted to address for the group in case we have other commuters. Start Strong experiences for everybody, not just residential students. Commuter students will be involved in there as well. So just wanted to share that one piece of information. But now I get to turn it over to the wonderful Tracy Carlson.
Thank you, Mike. So hi again, everyone. Again, my name is Tracy. I'm the Director of Accessibility Services, and we are the Office for Students with Disabilities. My contact information is right there on the left of your screen. But Mike, you can go on to the next slide. Thank you.
Sorry, I get there eventually.
No problem. All right, so our services are for students with disabilities. So students, if you had an IEP or a 504 in high school, generally you would come to us to continue some academic and possibly housing accommodations. So if you're looking for any sort of disability related accommodations at the University of Hartford, the very first step is to submit your documentation of your disability directly to our office. So those IEPs and 504s are definitely helpful for us to see, but at the college level, we do need some additional documentation. So we call that the primary documentation. So it's the whatever got a student that IEP or 504 in high school. So that could be a recent evaluation, a letter from a doctor, etc. That documentation can be sent to us by email, by fax, mail, whatever is most convenient. And we start reviewing documentation every June for our fall incoming students. Once we review a student's documentation, the next step is for us to contact that student on their University of Hartford email with an invitation to set up what we call an intake appointment. That intake appointment can be done anytime after July 1st. We are doing those via video call at the moment. And the intake appointment is really an opportunity for us to meet with the student and parents if they want to be a part of it, and talk about the nature and impact of the student's disability, what services and accommodations they've received in the past. And that's the time where we would set up a student's accommodations for the fall semester. After that intake appointment, we create a document called an accommodation letter, and that's what kind of replaces the IEP or the 504. So the accommodation letter would be a list of accommodations that the student is eligible to receive. And we send that out to professors by email right before the start of the semester. The accommodation letter does not contain any diagnostic information. All of that information is completely confidential within our office. It's just a list of accommodations. Students do need to request their accommodations every semester that they want to receive them. And that's a pretty simple process. They don't have to go through the whole intake procedure. They just need to fill out a quick online form that we send to them prior to the start of every semester. One important thing that we want to make sure students and families are aware of is that accommodations don't automatically carry over from high school to college. And there's kind of two ways of understanding that. So the first is that your documentation won't automatically be sent to our office by your high school. You have to either send it yourself or request that your high school send it. If you ask your high school to send it, please check with us to make sure we got it, because sometimes you have to ask the high school a couple times before they'll send that over to us. The other meaning of this is that accommodations may not look exactly the same as they do in high school. A lot of the times they'll be very similar, but there are some differences in accommodations, and that's really just based on the differences in the laws that govern the K through 12 system and higher ed and beyond. So if you have any questions about our services in general, you can definitely drop them in the Q&A. If you have specific questions about accommodations or services available to you or your student, I would definitely encourage you to give our office a call. Our website is down at the bottom. It's hartford.edu/access-ability. You can get all of our contact information there, and we would be happy to answer any of your questions. And now I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Jeff Berta from Counseling and Psychological Services.
Thank you, Tracy. Hi, everyone. Again, welcome. I also have with me on the call Sarah Cawley. Sarah, you out there? There
Hello.
she is. Sarah is one of our doctoral training students who has finished up her practicum experience, which is basically like an internship experience at the Counseling Center this year. And Sarah will be joining us and answering any questions that might come in about CAPS. But to start off, so we are located in the Gengras Student Union, very close to the Center for Student Success. We're in the brick building area, the older part of the building. And, you know, our services, think of us as the mental health professionals on campus, the therapists on campus, if you will. We have myself, 2 other licensed clinical psychologists on staff, 2 master's level clinicians, and usually 4 or 5 doctoral students who help us provide therapy and treatment for students, Sarah being one. Sarah is a doctoral student at Antioch University, New England, actually my alma mater, and you're in your 2nd year. Is that right, Sarah?
2nd year is completed. We're entering
2nd year, entering 3rd. Okay. So Sarah, this was her first experience doing therapy. And so she had the good fortune of doing all telehealth, which is what we provided all year. As many other people have mentioned, you know, we're looking forward to getting back to providing in-person services as well. So I'm going to just run you. I'm very minimalist with the slides here. I think this is my only one, but I'll run you through quickly your student would need to do if they're interested in making an appointment. You know, just some important things to know that all of our services are voluntary. And so your student is going to have to want to reach, have some motivation to do so. And the first step is to give our office manager an email or a phone call. You'll see the phone number there. Liz Inkle is our office coordinator's name. Her email address is right there on the screen. Then we do our best to get students right in for what we call just an initial phone screening. That process takes about 20 minutes or so. It's conducted over the phone. We get a sense of how the student is doing, what they might be struggling with, get a little bit of past history of mental health concerns and treatment, and also try to get a sense of what the student might be looking for. After the phone screening, we essentially do a kind of triage, if you will, where we might refer your student to a course of group therapy at the counseling center, possibly a course of brief or short-term individual therapy. In some cases, if the student is looking for longer-term care throughout the years that they're at the university, we might refer them off campus. Sometimes we have students who are just struggling greatly, and their concerns at the moment might be exceeding what we can, effectively, ethically for. And so we refer students to high levels of care off campus. We do have a psychiatrist on staff. Our psychiatrist is very part-time in that she's usually only in the counseling center a few hours every week. She might see students who've never been on a course of psychotropic or psychiatric medications before, and might be interested in trying them out to see if that can be useful or helpful for them. All other medication management concerns, we typically refer students to the student health services on campus. A couple other things, our student services, therapy services are free in that there's no out-of-pocket fees. We don't interface with insurances. Services are essentially covered under the tuition payments. And just like any other therapist or psychologist in the community, our services are also confidential. And so if your student is 18 or over and they sign an informed consent without their expressed written permission, we can't speak to anyone on campus, including parents. We're open 8:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. We have after hours crisis services as needed. We will interact with public safety department, residential life department if there's crisis situations at hand. We also do a lot of outreach and training. And so for the upcoming fall year, we hope to be doing a lot of suicide prevention trainings and initiatives. We try to train up our RAs and our RDs on how to respond to students who might be in high levels of distress, how to make referrals. We'll do the same for our public safety department as well. We are closed for the year, and so June 11th, I believe, is our last day. We reopen August 9th. And, in August, if your student is interested in checking us out and interested in possible services through CAPS, again, they can shoot Liz Inkle an email. They can shoot me an email as well, which is just my last name, Burda, BURDA @hartford.edu. And we also hope to continue on, there it is, with a number of groups that we've really initiated this semester, and they've been successful. Some of the groups really we've tried to support our historically marginalized groups, groups I would say who've really suffered and struggled a lot over the last couple of years, this year in particular. And so we've had a group for our Black students, our Latinx students, our LGBTQ plus students, and in addition to our Asian American student population, Pacific Islanders, and also to sprinkle in something that we always have is stress management, anxiety management. and you've heard it so many times, and I'll say it one more time, but a lot of the work we do is encouraging students to step outside their comfort zone. It's really a great way to manage the stress and the anxiety, to, with support and with help and with your peers, to kind of move towards that scary stuff. And it does get better after the freshman year. So thank you for your time. Pop questions in the Q&A. Reach out to me if you have any specific questions about your student or your child. Thank you. Back to Mike, right, Mike?
That's right, back to me.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Sarah. And in case you haven't noticed, the theme of the evening is stepping outside your comfort zone. So the question and answer section, go ahead and ask your questions. We've had a lot of really great questions come in already. And so one of the things that I wanted to outline real quickly, somebody asked a question about tutoring services earlier, and I just wanted to highlight, because I love it. It got me rather excited, because this is something that in the transition from high school to college, information is paced at a different level. And so the question was, can tutoring services be used for students who want to review material and not necessarily just for students who are struggling in classes? And yes, we highly encourage students to use it before you need it. Sign up for a tutor, and if it turns out after the first 2 meetings that you're getting A's on your quizzes and tests and you feel like you don't need it anymore, great, you're in a good position. If you do feel like that time is helpful and you're still doing well in the class, wonderful. And if you come with a whole lot of questions and you're trying to work things out and try and get a better understanding of information, that's wonderful too. So please use our tutoring center. Question that came up, let's see. I think I answered the commuter question. So virtual orientation sessions and our Start Strong experience is definitely for commuter students as well. Please, commuter students, sign up. We'll see you there. And so next question, this one goes to Jeff. Jeff, a question for you. Who else, who in your office does stress and anxiety management sessions? So can you talk a little bit about how
Sure. Yeah, Sarah, maybe do you want to field that one, having been here for a year?
Yeah, sure. Hi again. So for our stress anxiety management group, so those are typically one of our groups, and those can be run by a couple of trainees like myself. This year there were 4 of us, so one of the groups were ran by 2 of the other trainees. They're typically co-run by 2 people. So technically, Dr. Berta could be involved with one of those groups. Any of us really could that work at CAPS.
Right. Yeah, for the stress management groups, as Sarah pointed out, oftentimes our clinical trainees will run them and kind of pair up. But we definitely the load, and I've actually ran a mindfulness meditation group for several years pre-COVID, and hope to reboot that group. I think of that group in a way as stress and anxiety management. But good question. We also do individual work on anxiety management as well.
Yes, and as you can imagine, there's a lot of sort of different anxieties that come around just being a young adult and entering college in general. So that's definitely something you can come in for individual work as well.
Absolutely.
And I should also mention Jeff and some of the CAPS folks come and do some trainings with our staff during the summer. And so we talk a little bit about, stress and anxiety in terms of what needs counseling and psychological services, and what is able to be managed on an individual level. And so in our first year classes, we also talk about stress and anxiety, and we have different activities like inventories in terms of how you're feeling and what's causing you that stress. And so our staff is, I feel, pretty well trained in order to determine whether we need to make referrals to Jeff and Sarah. Or if it's something that, with regular meetings with a first year advisor, we can make some progress. And once you start breaking things down into steps and getting work done, does it become manageable? And is it something that you feel like you can be still successful in the first semester? So we address it on a whole number of different levels, and the variety that comes in. A question for move-in in general. Do we know when folks are arriving on campus? And so that'll be August 20th and 21st are going to be the dates for move-in. So depending on which date you select, you'll have a 2-day experience. The morning of that first day will be your move-in time. And the later morning into the afternoon will be time for activities. And like I mentioned, as part of that schedule, getting to know other folks, spending time with the Red Caps, walking around campus and getting familiar with your surroundings. And some fun activities and certainly food. We're going to feed you. Don't you worry. You will not go hungry.
Mike, there's a question out there. I think it's still, was that one addressed about the sensory issues?
Can go in order to be in a place that is less overwhelming. No, we haven't addressed that yet.
Okay. I don't know if I can address it, but I figured you can.
You can come to our office. You can go to Counseling and Psychological Services. I think it probably depends on, and I see Tracy turned her camera on. So I think we all work in this area, and it kind of depends on the level that the student is experiencing. And it depends on what they're feeling in the moment. And so if it needs to be some emergency response, then we have Jeff, we have folks on call. Or if it's, a conversation and it's things that have happened in the past and talking about how to prepare for those times, then certainly depending on if they're registered with Tracy's office or if they've had experience with counseling in the past, that's definitely something we can talk about as well.
I just want to add to if the person asking the question was just referring to looking for kind of like a quiet space that's not super crowded with, a lot of noise and people. I always recommend the third floor of the library. It's a huge expansive space with lots of little places that you can sit, and there's usually like nobody up there, and it's really quiet and peaceful. So if that's what you're looking for, definitely check out the third floor of the library.
And we also have conference rooms as a part of our office too. So if you need a quiet space.
Yeah, that's true. And CAPS, we're on the third floor of GSU, but it's I guess it's not a secret if I speak it out loud now, but there's a room downstairs that I have a key to where I would sometimes run groups for students who are in recovery, for example, from alcohol and other drug use. And there were times where we would use that space because it was kind of private and tucked away for students to just sit, to listen to music, to listen to nothing, just to have some silence in a place where they get some reprieve. I'm hoping that once, again, we get back to person, I can open that space again.
And another thing that I meant to mention earlier, Jeff, with the groups that you're running, and it seems like in addition to the ones that you mentioned, you've had other groups for common challenges that students experience, certainly in their first year, but also throughout college. And we've gotten a lot of great feedback from students about that. There's certainly students who feel more comfortable talking individually, but the feedback that we've gotten from students is for students who feel like that's overwhelming or that it's a barrier to walk in on your own, to have other students there and share in an experience and recognize that they're not the only ones feeling certain things and managing certain issues has been really, really helpful for those students. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to hear. I mean, just to add, yes. I mean, for many students, if we were to refer them to a group, we do, try to be mindful of what they might be struggling with. And if it is social anxiety, that might not be the best first step. But sometimes what we'll do is we'll meet with the student one-on-one, do some individual work, and then invite them to try the group. And they don't have to stay there. They can choose to leave the group. But I would say the vast majority of students who decide to give it a try really end up enjoying it and growing from it. And I think, to your point, one of the benefits of any kind of group is seeing that there's other students out there who are going through similar challenges. Thank you.
So I don't see any other questions. We only have a couple of minutes left. So I'm going to hand it over once more to our students, to Hallie, Ebony, and Jefferson. And I'm going to ask, I know, we had our theme. So let's, in addition to stepping outside of your comfort zone, so I'm going to challenge you a little bit. What would be a piece of advice for students, thinking about, their next steps are going to be orientation, Zimi interactions of getting to know other students. So in addition to stepping outside of your comfort zone and introducing yourself, what would be the next piece of advice that you'd offer to students in the area that they are right now?
I would say to acknowledge that, college is going to be a transition, that it's not going to be the same as high school, and it's going to be exciting and maybe a little bit overwhelming and a sensory overload, but like it's a bunch of great things. But again, to know that there's people and your advisor and CAPS that are here to support you however you get comfortable at college. Like I know for some people, something I used to give a spiel during orientation about CAPS, because personally I went to CAPS as someone that has anxiety, and it really helped me. And, I think that there's a lot of people that come from different states, and it can be, a 2-hour drive or an 8-hour plane ride, or, a 20-minute drive. And, you can react completely different to someone who lives far away or someone that's closer. So I think just coming to terms that, you might feel great and you also might not feel great, and that, there's CAPS and your advisor that are here to talk to you. And that also, like, CAPS doesn't have to be for someone like myself that has anxiety, or someone who has depression or bipolar, or someone who has mental illness. It can be, if you're having roommate drama or friend drama, or just need someone to rant to, it can be something like that too. So just to know that there's people that are here for you if you need to talk. I would say that's my advice.
I love it. Yes, there's people here to support you. We love our work. We really do. And so we're here and we want to be here. I think I didn't see who, but it looks like Jefferson came off mute. So Jefferson gets next.
Yes. So I definitely agree with that. You have all these people here that are on your side and, ready and willing to help you as much as they can. So what I would definitely say is, don't stress it and don't let it deter you from your goal too much, because at the end of the day, you are a freshman in college. You know what I mean? You're not the first to do it. You're not going to be the last to do it. Everyone has gone through it. So don't let it stress you out. And as long as you're really, taking in the information and doing what you need to do to move forward, you will be able to achieve your goal and move forward in a very, smooth transition. So definitely don't let it stress you out as much.
Thanks, Jefferson. And Ebony, you get the last word.
Oh gosh, I feel like I'm nervous. I feel like it's all in my hands. Let me think. With going off of what Jefferson and Hallie said, from someone who takes on a lot of tasks, my advice to you guys would definitely be prioritizing your tasks, because as a freshman, there's so many new experiences. There's so many opportunities that you're going to be coming across, and you're so anxious and willing to take on those opportunities, but you don't really know what all is on your plate as of that moment. So like I said previously, I was on the track team. I was in a physical therapy major. I had so much labs and homework to do. I didn't realize how much stuff I had on my plate. So when I was taking on all those tasks and wearing these different hats, I found myself in a very stressful situation, and I just kind of like crumbled, how Hallie said, like, you know, there will be down moments that you have within your freshman year. So CAPS, like how Jeff and Sarah were explaining, it was definitely a program that helped me through that and just made me learn like to prioritize my tasks. So I would say take it with a grain of salt, you know. You have 4 years of college, so you don't all have to finish everything in 1 year. You have plenty of time, even though it will go by very fast. You have plenty of time to do all the things that you want to do. So my advice would just to be prioritize your tasks and take your time.
Awesome. Thank you, Ebony. So, and that's something we spend a lot of time in the Center for Student Success as well, helping people prioritize. And that's, you know, Jefferson and I had talked about that too in the first year class, that, you know, if you forget something, if you miss an email, if you get a lot of information thrown at you, many of you out there are already experiencing that. And that's what's great about our structure now with the Center for Student Success and your first year success seminar class, is that those reminders are provided to you. And we make sure that, you know, you're getting that information when you need it. So that's everything. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything out there. All right. Well, thank you to certainly our students, Hallie, Ebony, Jefferson. Thank you for being here and carving out some time when I know that, you know, finals are finishing up. Jeff, Tracy, Sarah, thank you so much for your time, for being here. And to all those who attended, thank you very much. And you know, you have our contact information, and hopefully if you have any other questions, please feel free to connect with us, and have a wonderful evening. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.